Jim, I watched End Times, and wow, I really loved it. When people hear the Asylum, they always think of mockbusters, but this was totally not that at all. It
It,
actually felt like a walking, like something you would see in like The Walking Dead, like a spin-off of sorts,
yeah.
but well
Thank you.
done.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. It's ironic we're coming out through Asylum, which is yeah, they're known for Sharknado and the other stuff, but they do a lot of stuff too, and they're really great to work with, and we're really grateful. I'm grateful, especially that they picked up this film and got it out there because we know it'll really get out there now.
Yeah, exactly. So, what was the concept behind this movie? How did it all begin?
It's got a long history. I moved out to California to LA from Pittsburgh in 2005, and right in the summer before I moved, they were having the bird flu epidemic, like the avian flu in Canada, and there were sort of doomsday predictions then about having to cordon off Toronto and all this stuff. And I started writing again, I'm from Pittsburgh, so when you're from Pittsburgh and you're into horror, Night of the Living Dead looms very large in the zeitgeist, obviously. So, and that's something I just grew up with. I had never really considered doing a zombie film, but that kind of gave me an interesting idea of like, okay, here's a way that a disease can jump species. Because that was our first, birdemic was sort of our first example of that, which would be followed obviously by the COVID-19
Yeah.
pandemic. Uh, and that was sort of a thing I was taking and going like, okay, there's a legitimate scientific idea that something could hop from one thing to another, turn and mutate and turns into a zombie type apocalypse here in amongst human beings. So I wrote a movie called Pandemic that was supposed to be shot in Pittsburgh, and I moved out here and tried to raise money for it, and it didn't happen. A bunch of years go by. I'd worked with Jamie Bernadette on a couple projects. We tried to get a couple things going. She finally got to where she's like, "I've got some budget. Let's talk about doing some stuff." Right around then, I live in San Pedro, which is a little south of LA.
Mhm.
Right around then, there was a naval housing base not too far from me. And when we bought the house, I would make daily trips with stuff in my car, and I'd pass this every time. And I went and it had been naval housing. It was an entire community. It went on for as far as you could see, and it had been closed for decades. And the LAPD used it for riot training, attacks and stuff. And there were sheep that lived in some of these houses. It's hilarious. There are literally signs saying, "Do not attack this house. Sheep inside." Seriously. Um, they never let anyone ever film there. And I talked to the guard, and I kind of, and he said, they never Universal. Everybody's wanting to film here. We never let them do it, but it's about to sell. And once it sells, come talk to the contractor. And I waited and waited, and then the morning it did at 8 a.m., I got down there and talked to the guy. And it's like, I want to shoot this little, zombie film and everything like that. And then the guy's like, "Can you start after 3 p.m. when the bulldozers are done?" And we said, yes. So we were in summer, but it was still very short hours we could film and stuff. So we really shot the first half of the film. I wrote the first half really quick and shot it while that place was still there. And they were tearing it down as we went. And so that's the town you see in the beginning of the film when Jamie's character gets to the top of the hill and you just see nothing but this
Yeah.
abandoned houses and everything like that. It was just incredible, right in the middle of LA. It's incredible. So that's, I mean, no two films of mine have ever gotten a start the same way, and this was just a really unique way for that to happen. So I really wrote the first half of the film very quickly. We shot it, and then I took a hiatus, and I wrote the other half of the film that takes place after that, and we shot it there. But my wife and I just went down there and looked at model homes down there in this place where we filmed. There are all these like beautiful condos and stuff now. It's a huge community. It's
Wow.
bizarre that we shot there.
That's insane. And
Yeah,
speaking of Jamie, I love her. I love watching her
yeah,
in films, and I like how lately she's been playing more of the against type. We usually see her as the strong final girl, the
yeah.
survivalist type. Here,
Right.
this and a recent one, Sebastian, she's played more damsel in distress types, like
Mm,
more
mm.
timid type. And I'm glad she's doing that as well. And she also was the casting director on this, which
Yeah,
was
yeah.
quite surprising. I mean,
Oh, Jamie just has endless range. I mean, she can you put it in front of her and she can do it. She's really incredible. Yeah, she and I were both producers on the film, so we were really the two partners that really made this thing happen, along with so a few other producers. Um, but I've never seen anyone able to go back and because you wear different hats, obviously.
yeah,
Um, acting is one type of thing. It's a very expressive, very vulnerable type of activity. And I've never seen anyone able to do stuff like that and do the scenes that she did in this film, and then switch around and suddenly be coordinating meals and locations and casting and stuff, right? Just like that. She'd just be able to switch right brain, left brain, right brain, left brain. She's incredibly facile like that. I was very fortunate to have her as a partner on this.
Yeah, and Craig was great too as Freddy, the guy who becomes like her mentor of sorts,
Thanks,
to
great.
survive. He was phenomenal. Like he was
he was great.
He reminded me
he
of
didn't have to do much. He is kind of that. I mean, he's much more of a hippie really than like that character, but like that's still a lot of Craig. He'd already done Django Unchained at that point, and The Hateful Eight, and since then he's been in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and what have you. But it was funny, he's been in some big movies, obviously, but never as a main character. And I think it was the second day of filming, we were going to the location. He turned to me, he's like, I have more lines today than I've ever had in my entire career. And you're like, oh, okay. But he did great. He was absolutely fantastic.
He is.
They both were, and their chemistry together is really wonderful.
It kind of reminded me of like the upcoming that new Walking Dead series, Dead City, where it's like Negan and Maggie, and it's like Freddy's like the Negan, but just the total badass. And then, and
polar opposites, right? Yeah,
polar opposites, and it worked well. They had such great chemistry in the film. You can tell which direction it's going to go, but then of course,
well, it's a love story, really. I mean, it's kind of a platonic love story. It's a father-daughter type story, and that's the thing I wanted to tell, because it's the thing. Look, there's been a lot of zombie movies. There's been a lot of great zombie series. There's been all sorts of stuff. We actually filmed before pandemic, so we actually filmed this before The Last of Us came out. Ironically, our special effects artist Damon Sheldon, when he came on the production after, and looked at the footage, he's like, I just worked on this video game a few years ago called The Last of Us, and this is kind of a lot like that. But
it's funny because that's my son's favorite video, like one of his
cool
of all time. Yeah. So I told him like, I'm watching a movie. I'm watching a movie that's just like kind of like The Last of Us.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's a narrow sub genre, right? I mean, there's you have to look to find the things that you can do differently than anyone else has done. And the thing that I felt had been done but never done in the way I think I thought I could do it was to tell a really personal story that happens inside this much larger vista, right? And focus on that. And that was the way we were able to do this for a smaller budget and everything like that. It's still, I mean, I think one of the things I'm proudest of this film is you never guess we filmed this entire film all within greater Los Angeles, one of the most densely populated, busiest, noisiest cities in the world. And we managed to tell this story by bouncing all over from Simi Valley to Orange County to down here on the peninsula where I live, and finding these really great locations that you would never guess if you just turn the camera there, right? Yeah. There's the Hollywood sign, like you'd really see it and stuff. And I got to shoot in some amazingly iconic locations. There's a shot when they go through the cave. Yeah. That's the Batman cave. That's Bronson Canyon. And there's a shot when they come out of it that is the exact shot John Ford used in The Searchers, where John Wayne comes galloping down, or his stunt person probably galloping down that hill in this thing. They walk through an open basin, which is a mounting platform down here in San Pedro for the big 40 millimeter guns or whatever that they had installed during World War II when they thought the Japanese were going to attack. And it's the same pool that they used in Pearl Harbor, where Mako and the Japanese officers are planning the strike, and they flooded and they're simulating Pearl Harbor. Wow. And stuff. So yeah, it was fun. I mean, I got to trespass on some kind of holy ground a little bit, and get some shots out of there. So that was a fun journey for me as a film fan. Yeah, and speaking of casting, I mean, even the supporting characters were really good. I really like the fact that we got a reunion between Jamie Bernadette and Maria Olsen in that one little scene from I Spit on Your Grave. And I love Maria as well, and she's always fun. It doesn't matter what role she does. She has this impact. They had just done that together, or they were about to do that together. I can't remember, but anyway, it was right around that time. Maria was great to work with. Maria's game for everything. She's just she's a pleasure to deal with. Dan Buran, who had been in the Vampire Diaries, he's from Cleveland, so he's like a back east kind of guy too. So he and I got along amazingly. Kaiwi Lyman, who has been in Den of Thieves and all sorts of stuff since then. He was fantastic. He came to play and everything like that. Sadie Katz, Dominique
I
Swain.
love his character. His character was so much fun because like
he's so great.
You couldn't tell which way he was going. He kind of.
I told him on the side. It's not in the script. I told him on the side when we started working. I was like, before all this happened, you were the assistant manager at a FedEx Kinko's, and you acted exactly the same. You treated that job and those employees the same way you do this, and they hated you, and you just couldn't find your place. And this was where Hayden's character was meant to be, but nothing had changed with him. He was just this still like petty dictator, right?
Yeah, and then you had Dominique Swain, who was like, great, and Sadie Katz. I can't say enough about her. I actually met her earlier this year because she did Space Wars,
right?
And she was so much fun to talk to because I loved her villain character in it. And it's kind of like here, she's like she comes off as nice, but then it's like, all right,
you see the very thin, warm human veneer in that character, and right beneath it is this reptilian thing, right? And she,
exactly.
Sadie and I have done a lot of work together. We, since this film, we shot the Possession of Anne, an exorcism film, which is coming out later this year. She produced and starred in that too with Vernon Wells from Road Warrior and Commando. That was a great film. It was really fun to do. She and I have worked together so much that she really is to a point where she just has to read the script and she's like, no, I know what you're going for. It's fine. It's fine. We have a shorthand that's really fun and stuff. And she really came in and saved our butt when we were in a bind with casting and stuff, and brought that Deirdre character to life. She was great.
Yeah. So altogether, between getting that first half done and the second half done, how long did shooting take altogether?
Oh, it stretched over like a couple months, actually. There was a little hiatus in the middle, and we didn't shoot day in, day out. We really had to bounce between locations. So it was really about, blocking out a couple days to shoot in one spot, and then taking a few days to regroup and reorganize, and then bounce it over else. Because again, we shot within, it was probably a couple 100 miles difference of all the different places from east, west, north, and south, all over Los Angeles. I probably could put together a 3-hour version of the movie that is nothing but actors just waiting for planes flying overhead to pass, or traffic, or helicopters, or cars and stuff. Because everywhere you go in LA, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going to hear that kind of noise, speedboats, everything. We had everything, and it's funny. So it's just the actors just waiting.
That could be a special feature. That could be a special feature, like a gag reel, just like
wait for
the planes.
The film is almost 2 hours long, but if we do get a physical media release, which I hope to, and we have special features, we've got an entire there's like a 14-minute opening of the film that ended up getting cut out, that we kind of decided to drop everyone right into the middle of it. But there's a whole sequence of Claire waking up in the morning of and everything, and it goes on, and there's zombie attacks and stuff like that. So there's even more that's out there that people can see if there's ever like a Blu-ray or DVD release.
That's awesome.
And of course there's a commentary, and there's deleted scenes and stuff. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. So what's next for you after now that this is out? What's next for you after?
Possession of Anne is it's an exorcism film. It's about a woman who is possessed and nobody believes her, so she has to lock herself in a hotel room and exorcise herself. And her only help is from this disgraced priest played by Vernon Wells. So that was a really fun shoot. We shot that at the end of last year. We had a great premiere at the beginning of this year. That's coming out probably towards Halloween or so this year on here in America, and I think eventually overseas as well. I just shot a film called Killer X. It's like an action drama film back in Philadelphia. It stars William Christopher Ford, who's in Karate Kid 3, and it stars Muhammad Michelle Kesey, who played Tong Po in Kickboxer. Yeah, we got him. We shot that in Philadelphia and New Jersey in the spring. That's actually the first feature film I've shot myself. I decided to give it a shot. I've shot other things, but I've never filmed, been the DP on my own film, and decided to try it, and I liked it a lot. So maybe I'll do some more. And it didn't turn out too bad. So that's coming out, and then that'll be coming out next year, I'm sure, early. And then next year, I'm going down to I was just going down and meeting with some officials in St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we're shooting an action film there called Paradise Fallen next year.
Oh, that's awesome.
We're really excited for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that killer
There's lots of
definitely picking my brain, because hearing Tong Po is going to be in it, that's just going to be
yeah. Yeah, that was it. He hasn't really done much for a long time, so it's an interesting experience getting to bring him back and everything. He's older now and cool looking and everything. I think it's gonna be a fun film. Jose Torres acts and produces in it, and we have a great cast: Elena Shurinova and a lot of other folks.
That's awesome. Well, End Times is now available to check out on digital, I believe.
Yeah, video on demand, iTunes, Vudu, also everywhere you want to do it, and
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be eventually released on some of the streamers.
So definitely check this movie out, because it's a great movie. It's more than just your typical zombie film. There's a great story with it, along with it, with our two protagonists. Great performances from everyone all around. And I will say, I hope this writers and actors strike will eventually get resolved just in time. And Jim, man, thanks again for taking the time to talk about this movie. And I seriously, I cannot wait to hear more about your future projects once they're out.
Great, Albert. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate you talking to me.
All right. Well, you take care and have a good day.
Okay, thanks. You too. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.